What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about preparing a car for paint correction, the steps that you need to take from start to finish once you finish decontaminating the car. So the first thing you should always do when working on high-end jobs or any paint correction job that's high dollar is have yourself an inspection form. Okay, this is my inspection form for the car I'm working on right now, which is a 1987 Porsche 911 Carrera. And it requires a lot of work. So the first thing you do is go around and look for any excessive damage that cannot be fixed. Notate it. The next thing you do is notate the condition of the vehicle. On here I have swirls, holograms, water spots, oxidation, rough paint, paint chips, and curb rash. There are no dents that I noticed. No glass chips, no glass scratching, no wheel damage. The wheels are in perfect shape. No gouges, creases, or loose moldings anywhere. No clear coat failure because it doesn't have any clear coat. No bird dropping burns or etches, no unknown defects or paint transfer anywhere located on the vehicle. Then the next thing you want to do after that is, I know it's the light from the computer's kind of dimming the camera out, but measure the paint. All those little markings on the car and side notes are where the damage is, and measuring the paint. It's important to measure the paint so that way you know what you're able to do to this car. Fortunately, there's still enough paint for me to do a paint correction on the car. I'm probably going to remove an average of about 10 to 12 microns of paint during the correction process. So as long as I have that much wiggle room, I tend to just go forward with a nice aggressive correction. And it also really just depends on the value of the car. Cars will lose value if they're missing paint, especially ones that are worth up into the multi-$100,000 mark, where paint thickness, when it comes to originality, is really important. So sometimes getting that perfect paint correction isn't the more important factor. It's preserving the original quality of the vehicle you're working on. And it also tells you where there's been body work. So on this particular car, just the passenger door has been repainted because it's twice as thick as the rest of the car. And the roof has also been repainted as well. As you go around the vehicle, it's also important to notate any missing paint from edges. The car's been detailed before. There's holograms all over it and the buffer trails. You could see them in the paint. And that tells me that there could be burn marks because any other detailer probably didn't do paint correction to it. They probably whacked it with a rotary buffer at least 10 times in its life, which is probably why it's missing so much paint. So you go around and you look at all the edges of all the seams on every panel and mark on your inspection form where there are burns and pre-existing conditions and take pictures of them. I have pictures of the burn marks here. Now that you've gone around the car, measured the paint, notated pre-existing conditions, and determined whether the job is executable or not, your next step is taping off the car. Now, there are two different ways you can do this. You can completely tape off every single molding, or you can just tape off the ones you know that are going to get in the way. You also want to carry a roll of tape with you while you're detailing or doing polishing because on an old car like this, or even on a new car, sometimes the body panels don't line up. So you'll have body panels that will be higher or lower than others. And on an old car like this, most of the time the panels are slightly raised or lowered because it's just the way the car settled as it got driven over the years. So the important thing to do is to tape off the lifted edge. Okay. Now, if you're buffing the panel that's actually higher than the adjacent panel, you don't have to tape the edge, but I still do anyway, just because of pad travel. And if you're using foam, the foam will actually roll over the edge and cause a lot of friction on this edge. You could potentially burn paint off. So what I like to do is tape right up to the edge where I know that the eye can make contact with the panel and not see a tape line of polishing. Moldings are important to tape off. I can't stress this enough with a car like this because the moldings are extremely porous, the black plastic moldings. They're great because they accept solution finish perfectly and any other kind of trim dye you choose to use. Or, polish. If you hit it with your buffer, you're going to have a hell of a time getting it out if you don't get it out right away. So what works really well for me is an alkaline-based cleaner for rubbers. I mean, those rubbers over the test of time are going to absorb oils and dirt and all kinds of shit. And, Super Clean or Awesome or any alkaline-based cleaner is going to be really good at breaking down all the shit out of the rubber gaskets. And the way it works is acid and light bases are basically engineered in cleaning products to clean bio stains or organic type stains. So, acid is going to dissolve metal and stuff like this and bugs and shit like that. So I wouldn't use an acid-based cleaner to clean rubber because it's not going to clean the rubber very well. So you have to use an alkaline cleaner, which is a degreaser. 99% of the times, degreasers are alkaline. So make sure you always redress those gaskets with some type of dye, like solution finish or something like that. You don't always have to. It's just a good measure. A nice black piece of trim stands out to the eye, and it makes the job look so much better. The second thing to do is tape off your glass. I know this seems like a waste of time to a lot of people, but taping off your glass can save you a lot of time in advance. So what I like to do is I clean the glass entirely. I will basically steel wool, razor blade, whatever I need to do to clean the glass, polish it, boom, and I'll cover it with, painter's plastic, body shop plastic. And I'll do that with all the windows and cover them all so that way no splatter or dust gets on them. If dust gets on them, it's not a big deal, but I do this just to more so avoid splatter and exterior contaminants that may be flinging around while I'm doing this. IPA wipe and even the solution finish dressing. If I'm using it, I don't want to accidentally hit the window, get that on the window because it's greasy and pain in the ass to get off. So it's really important to remember to know what areas you need to tape versus what areas you don't need to tape. It just depends on what kind of car you're working on, how much trim is available to you, shit like that. This car's got a lot of trim. It's trim virtually everywhere. So you have to be really careful of seam trim and stuff like that. And I usually don't tape up the little tiny rubber. If you guys have ever worked on older Porsches, they have like these rubber gaskets between the fenders and the body and the main body of the car. I don't usually tape those up because the tape just gets ripped right off when the polisher hits it. So what I do is I just try to be very careful and lightly go around it I use a Flex PE8 with a 1 or 2 inch adapter, and I just butt right up against the gasket where I polish. And then during my final polishing step, I just run over the gasket with the soft pad, and it usually doesn't stain the gasket because it's a light cutting polish or a finishing polish that doesn't have that thick white nature like a compound does. So usually just a quick wipe with a damp rag will clean those gaskets up. So I think we've pretty much covered everything, how to prepare for a paint correction. You can also cover your wheels if you feel like it's necessary, that you've done a good enough cleaning job on them where you can just cover them to keep them from getting dusty. Then do it. Buy yourself some wheel socks, put them on. You don't have to worry about cleaning your wheels again after the job as long as the car doesn't have to move. But again, I always go back and do the wheels anyway, just because it's good measure. And, the wheels that are on this car in particular are a $10,000 set of wheels, and they have to be done right. So just cleaning them is not enough. I have to go back and do several other functions like doing a quick hand polish and then coating it with C-Quartz Deluxe. So that's pretty much it. It's a very relatively simple process. So appreciate you guys taking your time to listen. There's going to be more videos that I'll have out on handling various types of paints. It just really depends on how old the car is, how new the car is, what style paint they use to paint the car, how to fix paint burns. That's another thing I'm going to cover in a video with this car. I'm actually going to be picking up some single stage urethane for this car this morning, and I'm going to use that to airbrush the burn marks that are pre-existing in the car. It just makes the detail that much more complete, and I'm going to go through the process of doing that. I hope you guys learned something today. If there's something I could improve upon as far as details in the video, maybe showing you guys exactly how to do things might be better. I didn't think I would need to do that with a taping and masking off demo. But I am going to be making videos on how to airbrush the burn marks on this car. So stay tuned for that video. It's probably not going to come out for like another week or so. And hopefully you guys really learn how to improve your detailing quality with something like that. So again, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the flip side.